Hello everyone, in this video we'll cover how do you fill your e-logbook on EGCA, what are the most common mistakes that students make while filling their physical logbook. More importantly, do you really need to hire someone or pay someone to write all your hours in EGCA? Do you really need two logbooks, one for your foreign flying school and one for your Indian flying? We'll answer all of these questions in today's video, but before we start, make sure you watch the first 4 parts of the series. We have already covered documents for conversion, RTR, FRTOL, shortfalls, medicals, all of that. And once you're done with all that, then you can watch this video. Let's get into it. So, do you really need two logbooks? The short answer is no. The long answer is DGCA has not mentioned it any of their documents that you need to submit two logbooks for your CPL conversion. But it's a common practice and a lot of my friends also did the same. They submitted two logbooks and for all the right reasons. See, from a student pilot's perspective, these two logbooks, your foreign logbook and your Indian logbook, they're quite different in terms of the number of columns, the types of columns, and also how do you fill those columns. For example, you have a departure time and an arrival time column in your Indian logbook. And when you fill them, you fill it in the RR and minute format, and that too in UTC time. However, if you look at my Canadian logbook, we only write the flight time. That too we approximate. We are not using RR and minute format here. We are approximating the flight hours using this airtime and flight time table right here, which is in the logbook itself. So we used to approximate. This happens in America, this happens in Canada as well. And we'll talk about all these differences in just a minute. But because of these small differences, the confusion and frustration grows. And that's when making and maintaining two logbooks starts sounding like a viable option. If you ask me personally, I only made one logbook. That was my Canadian logbook, and I submitted that for my conversion. So I leave the decision to you. There is no right or wrong. As long as your hours are correctly recorded and they match the e-logbook on EGCA, you won't have a problem. See guys, there are so many rules and regulations that you need to consider during your conversion process that feeling a little lost, it's completely natural. Even I was lost when I was figuring out all this. Just follow along this series step by step, understand everything, read the documents that I've given in the PDF below, and you will be fine. And all your doubts will be solved by the end of the series. Layout of different logbooks. So if you pay attention, your Indian logbook has a lot more columns than your Canadian or American logbook. Your Indian logbook has a departure column, an arrival column, whereas in most foreign logbooks, these two are completely missing. It also depends upon the brand of logbook that you're using. You'll also see an engine column in your Indian logbook, whereas that is also missing in my Canadian logbook. And then there is sim instrument time. So in my Canadian logbook, we used to write the simulator time at the end two columns, and simulator instrument time is separately logged under the instrument column FTD. FTD stands for flight training device, which is specifically for simulator instrument time, whereas there is no such column in your Indian logbook. Your sim hours are written at the back here. If you look closely, there is no separate column to record sim instrument time separately from sim time. See, the point I'm trying to make is different logbooks in different countries, different brands will have different layout. So in all this chaos, how do you know whether your logbook is acceptable or not in India for your CPL conversion? And to answer this, we'll open that same document, paragraph number 4. Only authenticated original logbooks utilized and maintained for issue of contracting state license will be accepted. Obviously, it must include at least information regarding dates, aircraft type, single or multi, and registration, crew stated, PIC, dual, etc., flight time, total time, sectors, day and night, cross-country flights, instrument time, actual and simulated in the aircraft, and simulator flying needs to be separately logged. As long as your logbook has these columns, you will be fine. DGCA will accept your logbook. That is all they need. And simulator flying separately logged. I got a shortfall because I didn't log it separately, and we have already discussed in a previous videos. And because of that shortfall, I had to make two separate documents for my simulated instrument hours hood time and my simulator instrument hours. Let's talk about your logbook errors and mistakes. We're all humans, we all make mistakes. What you need to focus on is how do you correct those mistakes. So let's say you have made a totaling error or the registration of the aircraft is wrong. You made some mistake. Please, for God's sake, do not use a whitener or any sort of correction fluid in your logbook ever. The right way is put a line through the mistake and write the correction above and put your initials beside the correction. That is the right way to do it. I have a hack to avoid all of these mistakes altogether. and I'll share it towards the end of this video. And if you have a lot of these small errors and corrections, you can bring this document from your foreign flying school. Again, it's not a requirement, but it's a nice to have document, and you can submit this document in the other documents section when you would be filling your final conversion application, and I'll show that to you in the coming videos. Now, there are two very important documents that you thoroughly need to read. I'll show them here also, and I'll put them in the PDF as well. Just write e-logbook. So the two documents are this one: process for filling your e-logbook and instructions for filling your e-logbook. Both of them you have to read very thoroughly. And why I am emphasizing on this, the document will tell you that. Let's look at the first one. Guys, I won't go over everything because there are 154 pages. And you don't need, all these 154 pages are not applicable to you. So only what is applicable to you, you need to read it, and you cannot afford to make a single mistake. And here is the reason. Prerequisites for filling your e-logbook. So the applicant must have an EGCA portal, obviously. Applicant must have already completed his actually flying before capturing all his details, of course. And this is the most important one. Only correct entries must be made, as entries once approved cannot be amended. What that means is, like your physical logbook, if you make a mistake, you put a line through it and you just put your initials above it. You are able to correct them. In your e-logbook, there is no such way. You cannot amend it. You cannot afford to have any mistake whatsoever. And if you make a mistake, then you'll obviously have to contact DGCA and raise a support request, something like that. And that is why going through these documents are extremely important. Now let's look at how do you fill it. So process flow, launch e-logbook. So you go to the EGCA login page, you log in, put your ID and password here, go to the sidebar on the services page and search for fill e-logbook. Now these instructions are also extremely important. Now most of them we have covered in our previous videos, but I still want you to read them. I know I'm asking a lot to read, but these things, you just cannot be complacent with them. You have to read them to avoid any errors in the future, and then potential delays, and then potentially expiring all your hours and spending a few lakhs. So during your training, the instructor would PIC and the student will put dual logbook. This is pretty obvious, but for skill test or for your check ride, instructor will put PIC and the student will select P1 under supervision. And if pilot is the sole occupant, then solo option should be selected. And here are 300 nautical mile PIC cross country. How do you record it? What are the rules that you need to consider here? We have already discussed in this previous video, but you need to go through both of these documents with all your attention. Okay, now let's look at process flow, filling your e-logbook, flying done in ATOs, operators, and foreign FTOs. FTOs stand for Flight Training Organization. So you need to read this, and this starts from page number 74. And once you go on the sidebar, you select fill e-logbook, you need to select this second option, entries in respect of flying undertaken, foreign FTO. So after selecting the second option, you will see some instructions there, and those instructions are the same as what we have already discussed in this document. And then click on next. And it also says here, read instruction manual carefully before filling the e-logbook. I've already told you that. Now keep this in mind, all options to enter flight details are in free text in this entry type, write in capital letter. Aircraft or simulator, enter the name of your FTO, registration number, multi-engine, single engine, airplane or helicopter, your pilot function, whether you were the PIC or was it a dual flight, you co-pilot, and P1 under supervision for your flight tests, check ride, skill tests, whatever you want to call it, and the name of the student. Flight type, whether it was a training flight or a test flight or something else. And again, another important thing here, departure and arrival time can be entered in the same format as entered in your physical logbook. So whatever you have written in your physical logbook, UTC time, local time, whatever you have recorded, you put exactly the same here. And like me, if your departure time and arrival time is not available, you have not recorded it, we never recorded it in Canada, then leave the fields blank and directly mention the duration of the flight, takeoff airport, departure date, departure time, leave it blank if you don't have that time. Landing airport, arrival date, arrival time, number of landing, time, whether it was a day flight, whether it was a night flight, or it was both. Sometimes you might take off in the evening and land late at night. So you have, flown in daytime also and nighttime also. So in such a case, you'll just select both. Duration of the flight, I'm pretty sure all of us record this. So if you have recorded your flight time in RR and minute format, it's pretty straightforward. You just put that here. If you had approximated values like me, 1.6, 1.7, so You would just put here 1 hour 36 minutes for 1.6, for 1.7, 1 hour 42 minutes, something like that. And all of these entries that you will put need to match exactly to your physical logbook, because they will be validated using your physical logbook by DGCA when the user applies for any kind of services. And the service which you will apply for is your CPL conversion. Flying hours of entries of submitted state will be counted in flying experience but will be subject to authentication by DGCA. Entries if found incorrect or not matching with your original physical logbook may be rejected. So whatever you have filled right now, you can also reuse this like a template. For that, you need to press this button here. It's just a feature that EGC has given you so that you can record your hours much faster. And the exact functionalities explained on page number 71 and 72 can be used to make multiple similar entries. And that's about it for this document. Let's have a look at the other document as well, which was instructions for filling e-logbook. So this instruction manual is very similar to what we just read. Here, all of it is exactly the same, and you will also see it when you are filling your e-logbook. You just need to read it and understand it once, and that's good enough. And I'll upload both of these documents for your reference in the PDF below. Now, typically what happens is a student would land in India with 1 or 2 of his logbooks, and the student would then hire somebody to write all the physical logbook data and transfer that into your e-logbook on EGCA. And that person might charge you anywhere from 4 to 5,000 rupees. Or the student will do all this himself or herself if he has the time and patience to do so. But I'm here to tell you that there is a better way to do this. So to avoid all of this hassle of errors in your physical logbook and then uploading everything on EGCA, I highly recommend using a digital e-logbook app from the very beginning of your training. And the reason is simple. A digital logbook doesn't make calculation errors that we end up making in our calculators. And they give you your logbooks in a PDF format, which you can then use to copy down everything in your physical logbook. No need to calculate anything, as all the totals are already done for you. While you can use any digital logbook, the problem is not all of them are suited for DGCA and EGCA regulations. And that is why I recommend using the Wingman digital logbook. It's available for iPad, iPhones, Android phones, and on the web on your laptop. If you simply log each flight in this app after you land, you will be able to fill your physical logbook without any errors. And the best part is when you need to upload all of your data into EGCA, you can do it via this app directly in a single click. Once again, I strongly recommend using the Wingman Pilot logbook from the very beginning of your training to avoid all of this hassle and save a lot of headache in the near future. As I've talked to so many students from all across the globe, and they all have these similar questions. So I hope I was able to clear some of those doubts and clear the air a little bit. If you still have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments below, or you can directly talk to me one-on-one, completely free. Link in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.